We're back here, whole 9 yards, on a Thursday afternoon. We're in the podcast studio. We're having some troubles. We're getting the video to work, so it's going to be audio for today, but the video should be working next episode. This is going to be a Super Bowl episode, though, so we'll just get right into it. Right now, the Chiefs they're pretty heavy favorites. Well, I don't know about heavy, but they're like 3.5 point favorites ahead of the Bucs right now. If you look at the regular season matchup, the biggest performer, the MVP of the Chiefs, was definitely Tyreek Hill. I mean, he basically broke the game open right from the start, and the Chiefs never really looked back. If you're looking at the film as a Bucs player, I mean, the first thing you have to do is to make sure Tyreek Hill doesn't break the game open in the first quarter, and then it's basically game over from there. The Bucs wouldn't be able to really run the ball that much. They'd have to spread things out and hope that Brady pulls something insane off. But yeah, I mean, I'm not my game plan on Hill is what it's been ever since he's become such a great player with the most insane speed I've ever seen. I probably have a guy on him, and then I have safety help over the top. That won't shut him down necessarily, but I would put my best corner on him probably in Davis, and then have whatever safety. I don't even know if I'm not sure if Whitehead's playing or not, or Winfield, and I'm pretty sure Winfield's going to play, but
Yeah.
I'd have one of them providing help over the top. You can't be giving up big plays to Hill. If he's going to beat you on maybe a couple shorter routes here and there, I mean, that's just going to happen. He's going to get his yards, but yeah, I mean, he can't break the game open. Looking at Kelsey, I mean, Kelsey's, he's their red zone go-to. He's Mahomes' security blanket, if you want to call it that. You're not going to be able to double everybody on every play. You're already basically doubling Hill. You're going to have to hope that you win a majority of one-on-one matchups against Kelsey. You can try to double him as much as you can. Try to jam him at the line. Make sure he doesn't get any free releases. But yeah, I mean, he's going to get his as well. You just have to make sure that, especially in the red zone, I mean, you can't be leaving Kelsey in favorable matchups. You have to make sure that in the red zone, especially, you limit him, because I mean, if you're the Bucs, again, like, the Chiefs are obviously going to score, but you have to try your best to make sure they don't score touchdowns, because the Chiefs, I mean, if the Chiefs put up 35 in this game, it's going to be really tough for the Bucs offense to put up to get in a shootout with the Chiefs and win that, at least in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Bucs, who would you rather have beat you, Kelsey or Hill? I mean, Kelsey's going to take you down the field like very methodically. It's going to be like 10 to 15-yard passes, or Hill, who's like 40 to 70-yard, 80-yard passes. That could be instant offense, 2 plays for a drive, and they already scored a touchdown. I mean, I would agree with you. I'd put my best corner on him and have safety help over the top. You can't play him one-on-one. They clearly saw that when they played the first time. I mean, like you said, he had 200 yards in the first quarter. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen again no matter what, but you can't let him go for more than like 120, 130, because if he does, that means he's running all over the field, which means that Kelsey's probably going to be open in the middle. So having him have a huge day, it's almost guaranteed that the Chiefs will win that game, unless the Bucs offense just scores every single time, which I doubt. But I mean, if I was the Bucs, I'd have to double, like I said, my best corner, probably Carlton Davis on him, and then it seems like Whitehead is going to play. He's been limited in practice, but I think Arian said he's going to play, and then Winfield, I think he's also going to play. So I don't know which safety you'd put on him, but you would have one of those safeties over the top, and then I'd rather have Kelsey beat me. I'd rather have them go down the field, and that's putting them more maybe in third down situations so they're not able to connect with Kelsey. So I'd rather the Chiefs offense be like that than them just going up and down the field, throwing the ball, all over the field to Hill.
Yeah, I mean, we've also seen, this is slightly off topic, but we've seen Bowles call a bunch of blitzes throughout the course of the year. I mean, and he's, clearly been getting pressure in the playoffs against Rodgers and Breeze especially. I mean, what is your thought philosophy on, should the Bucs blitz, or should they rush for, or what?
I think blitzing's not bad, because the more time you give Mahomes, then that's probably worse for you. There's probably a stat that says it, that the more time he has in the pocket, his completion percentage is probably higher, yards, touchdowns, everything like that. And as we saw in the AFC Championship game, Eric Fisher's out for this game, which is huge, because I don't know if he's their best offensive lineman, but he's at least their second best. He's been there since like 2011, 2012. and he's their left tackle, so he's blindside blocker for Mahomes. And we saw what their pass rush did against Rodgers, and they really weren't blitzing that much. That was basically just a four-man rush with Barrett and Sue and Vita Vey and Jason Pierre-Paul. So if it's working early in the game where you don't have to blitz, then I would say have as many people as you can back in the secondary. But if you can't get to Mahomes with a four-man rush, I think you have to bring in some blitzes, whether it's bringing like Devin White in or Levante David or maybe a safety blitz or a corner blitz from the edge. But I think it depends on how the game goes. I would probably start four-man rush and see how it goes, and if it's not working, then I'd try to throw some blitzes in there.
Yeah, I'm not. I You definitely have to be able to get pressure with four if you're the Bucks. In my mind, you can throw a couple blitzes in here and there. You have to definitely scheme them though. I mean, obviously you don't want Mahomes to be able to tell it's a blitz pre-snap, but I mean, like in Week 12 specifically, there was on one of Tyreek Hill's touchdowns. I think it was the one where he backflipped. Uh, Bowles called a blitz, and Hill just torched his man, and I mean it was an easy touchdown. So
I mean, they're going to have to disguise the blitzes because if Mahomes reads a blitz, he's going to send Hill deep because he knows he's going to be one-on-one.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go overboard with the blitzes. I think it's much easier to blitz a quarterback like a Breeze, even to an extent somebody like Rodgers who doesn't have somebody like Tyreek Hill necessarily. Although he does have Adams, but in terms of speed, he's not close to Hill. But yeah, I mean personally, I would not blitz nearly as much as I did in definitely the Saints and the Packers games. You're gonna have to get pressure with four. I mean, JPP's going to have a huge game. He's been pretty solid in the playoffs. Shaq Barrett's also going to have a big game. They'll have to, I mean, they're going to have to get a few sacks at least to have a chance in this game because, I mean, if the defense can't pressure Mahomes, then you can't let this young secondary get exposed. The defensive front is going to have to dominate, especially with Eric Fisher being out. So, if you give Mahomes time, obviously just like any quarterback, especially I mean, Hill will destroy anybody, even if it's like, even in double coverage. I mean, Hill will still destroy anybody if you give Mahomes enough time. Same with Kelsey. So, we'll see how it works out. But, yeah, I mean, Shaq Barrett's going to have a huge day. JPP's going to have a big day. So, yeah.
Do you think the Bucks defense can hold them to under, let's say, 30 points?
Yeah, no, I mean, it depends on the type of game that it is. I mean, obviously, if it's a shootout, I mean, it's just, you're not going to hold the Chiefs to under 30 probably, but I'm not too sure. It depends on what the Chiefs want to do. Like, do they want to get in a game where both teams are scoring 30 plus, or do they want to try to, run the ball and, be in like a nitty gritty type of game where it's like 24-20 at the end of the game? I'm not exactly too sure. It's just going to depend on the defensive front, honestly, the Bucks. It's going to depend on JPP and Shaq Barrett to get pressure. If they can do that, they can hold the Chiefs to under 30 for sure. If they can't, then I'm scared that, with Hill and Kelsey especially, that they're just not going to be very guardable. I mean, but we'll see. I mean, the Bucks defensive line has played insane this postseason. I mean, I don't know exactly how many sacks Barrett has, but he's got at least 3. Right, so.
Yeah, I mean he had 2 in the NFC Championship game, so.
Yeah, the defensive front has been insane for the Bucks, and yeah, I mean it's almost what's basically carried the Bucks to the Super Bowl has been the amount of pressure they've been able to bring. So if that doesn't sustain in the Super Bowl, then there's definitely no way they're going to win, at least in my mind. And I'm not exactly too sure, if this amount of pass rush and JPP and Shaq Barrett's performance the past couple weeks is sustainable or is consistent enough to like bet on in the Super Bowl. I think if I was going to bet on this game, I would probably bet Chiefs. I'm clearly going to be rooting for the Bucks, but I think the Chiefs are a much safer bet, and I would probably take the Chiefs minus 3.5. Yeah, I think the Bucks wins against the Saints and the Packers. They're not necessarily fluky, but I'm betting I would be having to bet on the Bucks defense being able to, get like 4 sacks against Mahomes, and Mahomes is pressured the whole night. And I'm not exactly too sure if that's going to happen. I'd also have to bet on, Brady outplays Mahomes. He may be able to do that in the fourth quarter, but is he going to be able to do it the first three? I'm not too sure, especially because I still think that Mahomes has better weapons on the Chiefs than Brady does on the Bucks. I would take any day. I would take Hill and Kelsey over whoever on the Bucks. I think I'm not too big on like Evans, and I'm really Evans. Like I've been looking at people have been ranking like top players in the Super Bowl, and they have Evans pretty high, and I still Evans to me is just he's a great red zone target for sure, and he can make plays at times, but he just isn't that like top tier wide receiver that like catches that Brady can just go to every down.
He's kind of like an old school wide receiver. He's like Dez. Like he'll get a lot of touchdowns, get a lot of 50-50 balls, but he's not going to be able to make plays when he gets the ball or go, in the middle of the field.
That's what I don't like, because
he's not a guy you can just go to like whenever you need, like Adams. Like you can just throw to Adams because he's going to get open, or you can just give him the ball. Like he's not that type of guy.
Yeah, no, he's definitely not like I mean, I don't know that I don't think Godwin's more talented than Evans or anything, but if you had to pick one for next week, who would you pick if you had to pick between Godwin and Evans?
I mean, if Godwin can catch the ball, then Godwin, because his skill set is more of what, like, I think his skill set's more of like a winning skill set at wide receiver, because he can make plays down the field, but he can also get the ball and run with it. He can make tough catches, and he's more of a threat in the intermediate space, while I think Evans is more just like a deep threat, kind of. Even though he's not fast, he's more just like a 50-50 ball. Which, I mean, that's basically
100%.
all his throws.
Yeah, to me, Evans is like the icing on the cake type of wide receiver to an offense, and Godwin's like the fuel. He's he's the breading of the cake. He's he's the foundation. Without Godwin, it's a lot tougher. I guess without Godwin, you'd still have AB, Scotty Miller, so it wouldn't be too big of a deal. But just looking at would you rather have Godwin's or Evans for the Super Bowl? I would rather have Godwin, especially because Godwin's play style favors Brady's play style at age 43 especially. I mean, Brady has always been a short to mid, field thrower. He's never really been into the deep ball, except for maybe a couple years, like 2007, 2009, maybe with like Randy Moss. But yeah, I think Godwin's a much better receiver, at least right now for Tampa Bay's needs. But that was kind of just a.
All right. Well, I guess we're talking Bucs offense. So I mean, one big thing for them has been their running game. I mean, Fournette's been really big these last. I mean, I'd say honestly all 3 playoff games. It kind of seems like he's the guy. It doesn't really seem like Ronald Jones is going to get carries. I'm not sure if it was just because he wasn't healthy last week. They said he was. Maybe he wasn't. 2 weeks ago, or maybe Fournette's just the guy going forward for this game. So I think if Fournette can have a big game, that's going to help a lot, because they definitely need that balance where you can't have Brady throwing the ball like 50 times. I just don't think you could win like that, despite the weapons that he does have. So if they can get a running game going, if they can get like 120 on the ground, I think that just makes it easier for them to, at least for Brady, to get down the field. Now, will they be able to put up 35 points? I don't know. I mean, I know they put up 31 against the Packers, but they also had help with the turnover at the end of the half, and then they had the lucky touchdown. That, I mean, obviously if you're playing normal defense, that's not a touchdown. Then they also had the fumble that they got a touchdown on short field. So they definitely had some better situations in the Packers game. Will they be able to have 2 turnovers or 3 turnovers like they did against the Packers or whatever it was against the Chiefs? I don't know. I don't think they'll be able to. Maybe 1. But they're definitely not going to have like short field. So I think the running game's going to have to come up big again.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not exactly too sure what's happened to Ronald Jones. I mean, I would be definitely betting on the fact that he's injured, because when healthy throughout the whole regular season, and I would still bet now that Ronald Jones is the much better running back. Even though Fournette has showed some life in the playoffs, at times he still looks pretty slow, pretty sluggish. Other than that one run he had in whatever quarter it was of the NFC Championship game, he hasn't looked very good. I mean, even in that run, he still looked pretty slow. Ronald Jones just looks quicker. He looks faster. He can still run upfield he's a north and south runner. He's not gonna. I just don't like Fournette, is what I'm saying. I definitely prefer Ronald Jones. I'm not sure if he'll be 100% for the Super Bowl. I mean, he's had, 2 weeks since the NFC Championship game. He definitely wasn't 100% for the NFC Championship game, or else I would assume he'd be playing over Fournette, just like the whole regular season. But, yeah, I mean, I definitely prefer Ronald Jones. As far as the turnovers are concerned, yeah, I mean, they're going to have to win the turnover battle. There's no way the Bucs would be able to beat the Chiefs if they lose the turnover battle.
Yeah.
Absolutely no way. And they probably have to win it by at least, probably, I mean, they'd have to win it by more than one, probably. I mean, when you look at the Saints game, it took, 3 interceptions and a fumble for them to win that game. And then the Packers game, it took, 2 really key turnovers
Yeah.
that led to easy, quick touchdowns. And if you look at the game, I mean, if you just take 14 points away from the Bucs in the NFC Championship game, it's a completely different game. They probably don't win it without those 2 turnovers. So, and
I mean, yeah. Even that Saints game, they don't get that fumble. The Saints probably go down and get a touchdown. They're up 14 points. That game's probably over.
Yeah. So they're definitely gonna have to win the turnover battle. The toughest thing about it is it's like, is getting these turnovers, these fumbles, these plays, is that something like consistent and reliable, and can I be confident that the Bucs will do that, and can I bet on that? That's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. I think the Bucs defense, I mean, clearly it's going to have to make a play, at least one, probably more like 2. You'll probably have to force a fumble. You'll have to find a way to pick off Mahomes or something like that. Pick 6, short fields. Special teams for the Bucs has not been great the whole year. You're going to have to play well as a special teams unit, because it's going to be tough to, obviously for Brady, and it's going to be, you'd rather have a 50-yard drive that results in a touchdown than, a 91, obviously. So the special teams will have to come up huge. It's going to be tough for the Bucs because, as far as I'm concerned, I still think the Chiefs' defense, you could definitely argue it's more talented, and throughout the regular season, at least, you can definitely argue. And the Chiefs' defense didn't play great in the regular season, but you could still argue the Chiefs' defense in the regular season played better. In the postseason, it's probably a little bit of a different story, just because the pass rush has been so elite and the turnovers they've been able to force has been so good. But if you take away those turnovers, which obviously you can't do that, but if you were to, this Bucs defense is a lot more vulnerable than people, I think, really think.
Yeah, I mean, I think they need 2 turnovers and at least 120 on the ground in order for them to really have a chance to win. I'm not saying they're going to get blown out or anything like that, but I don't see how they're going to be able to, if there's no turnovers, or they don't get a good game on the ground, I just don't see how they can keep up with them, because even though the Bucs have the number 1 rush defense, and it's probably going to be pretty hard for the Chiefs to run the ball against them, I trust Mahomes and their passing offense to move down the field more effectively than I do the Bucs. I mean, the Bucs are real. You could say the Chiefs are hit or miss, because sometimes they just take deep shots to Hill, and if it works, it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But then they have Kelsey, who can get you 15 yards on almost every catch, or they can just design a crazy creative play that gets them down the field too. While the Bucs, it really does. They're really more hit or miss. If they get a first down on the first or second play of that drive, and they just it looks like they're in a little bit of a groove, they're most likely going to get down and score, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown. But then there's sometimes on possessions they just can't complete a pass. They can't get more than 2 yards on the ground. They go 3 and out at multiple times of the game. If they're not going to win a turnover battle, or like I said, get 120, 150 yards on the ground, they're going to have to score on basically every single possession, and that means Brady's going to have to throw 400 yards, which I don't know. I just don't know if that can happen.
Probably not. Even if you look at a Super Bowl where Brady was in his prime, quote unquote, the Seahawks Super Bowl, I mean, the biggest reason Brady was able to throw the ball in the Seahawks defense so well was because what was the cornerback's name? I think Jeremy Lane was his name. He had an interception early in the first quarter, and he broke his arm, and that allowed I think his name was Thorold Simon was the backup. He was the third string corner, and he was getting picked on all night, and that allowed Brady to just go off. I mean, and then once you got to the fourth quarter, that Seahawks defense was very tired. So now we're looking at a 43-year-old Brady who doesn't have nearly the arm strength that he did back in Super Bowl 49 or whatever. Um, so we'll see. It'll be interesting. I don't. I would not. I definitely would not bet on the Bucks offense. Out shooting the Chiefs offense in a shootout. That's what I definitely would not bet on.
Yeah.
Mahomes is the better quarterback. Hill and Kelsey are the better weapons over any 2 or 3 or 4 wide receivers that the Bucks have. So yeah, I mean, again, yeah.
Well, I mean, they've also proven that they can put up points whenever they want to. I know it was last year's playoffs, but when they were down 24-0 to the Texans, I mean, they scored 51 points that game. So they could clearly put up points whenever they want. And yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think you could bet on the Bucks being in a shootout and winning that shootout. If they can even be in a shootout with the Chiefs. So it's really going to come down to their defense and their running game, I'd say. I think those are the two biggest things for the Bucks.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you'll have to take advantage of the Chiefs' injuries on the offensive line 100%. I mean, I already said it, so, Barrett's going to have a huge game. JPP, obviously. Did you want to get into, I was looking at, prop bets. I don't know if you wanted to go over those or not.
We could do that after. Two more things. Looking at the quarterbacks and then the head coaches. I guess we'll start with. Do you want to start with the quarterbacks or the head coaches?
I guess we'll start with quarterbacks.
All right. So obviously Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is going for his second Super Bowl in 2 years, but his second Super Bowl and technically his fourth year, but it's really his third year. Obviously, when he started actually being the starter, that means he'd have 1 regular season MVP, 2 Super Bowl rings if he wins, and then most likely another Super Bowl MVP. So that means he'd be at 2, and he's only, I think, 25 years old. I mean, if he were to win the Super Bowl, would he be? I mean, this may be an easy answer, but would he be on the path to be like a Brady level, like a 5-6 Super Bowl time winner?
You'd definitely be on the path. The biggest thing for Mahomes, yeah, if he does win the Super Bowl, he'll definitely. Even if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, he's kind of still on the path to 5 or 6. I mean, Brady, won the Super Bowl in 2001, didn't make the playoffs in 2002, won 2003, 2004. So Mahomes could technically, win last year, lose, and then win and win. But the biggest thing for Mahomes to get to 6-ish Super Bowls is gonna be the coach. I don't envision Andy Reid coaching for more than 10 years. I don't envision him coaching for more than probably 6 or 7 at the most, probably. So Mahomes will have to get lucky with the second coach. Maybe that's on the Chiefs. Maybe it's not. I would assume it is. But it's tough. I mean, you can look at basically any quarterback other than Brady and Montana, and if you look at their coaches and their coordinators, they usually have more than one head coach. Manning. If you look at Manning, he had Dungy, he had Caldwell, he had Gary Kubiak in Denver. I mean, he's had many, some coaches that are okay. John Fox. Dungy is probably he's going to be a Hall of Famer probably. But, if you look at Manning's head coaches, they weren't great. And if Mahomes gets stuck with somebody like a John Fox, I mean, you're not gonna win 6 Super Bowls. I can guarantee that. So, he'll have to go from an Andy Reid to whatever coach it is we don't even know the name of right now, most likely. A Sean McVay is not going to randomly go from a Rams to a KC, I would assume. But it'll have to be a top 5 coach that is probably offensive minded, just like Reid, that allows his offense to do exactly what it's doing now, as well as eventually this Chiefs team is going to have to lose some people. I would assume they're going to make sure they keep the key guys like a Hill, like a Kelsey, like a Chris Jones. But other than that, I mean, you're going to start losing people left and right. You're not going to be able to re-sign everybody on that team. I don't know exactly which players you'll lose, but, you're going to have to pick and choose. So we'll see what happens. But, I guess my answer is yes, he's on the path, regardless if he wins or he loses, to be honest. But, you have to get pretty lucky, and you have to be consistent. You have to hope you don't get injured. Mahomes is he's not necessarily a running quarterback, but he does run. He definitely can't afford to, be an injury-prone quarterback, and he hasn't been so far. So hopefully he's not at all, and he just doesn't get injured that much. But, like we've seen with a lot of quarterbacks that run, they can get injured pretty easily. So, Yeah, my answer is yes, regardless if he wins or loses. But is he going to surpass Brady? Probably not. Now, by the end of Mahomes' career, he could probably make an argument for the GOAT. I don't think he needs as many rings as Brady to make an argument for the GOAT. I mean, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I'm not too sure, but
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say like, so let's say Mahomes wins, Brady doesn't. Let's say Brady never wins again. So he's at 6 for the rest of his career. He's clearly already the best quarterback of all time, and he would be. And then when Mahomes would come to retire, let's say he wins 4, even I would say he probably has to win 4. Like his stats will probably match up, if not be better. Like regular
they'll probably be
season,
better.
they probably will. Because one, like he came in, like when Brady came in, it was still kind of like a running league, and he wasn't throwing as much as Mahomes was like his first year. I mean, Mahomes threw for 50 touchdowns his first year, so he probably will have better stats than him overall. But even if he has 4, I'd say maybe 3 Super Bowls that you could make like a real argument that he is like the GOAT. But I'd say he probably has to win 4, even though Brady has 6, because I think like
I think he'll have to win at least 4. Probably,
yeah, I think it
make
has
the
to be
argument.
4.
Because I mean, Brady had the stats advantage over Montana when he had 3, but nobody was really making the. I mean, not many were making the argument that Brady was the GOAT before he won that Seattle Super Bowl for sure. I think Mahomes will need 4 to at least have a chance. I think he'll probably end up needing 5 or 6, probably. I mean, for it to be like an absolute that Mahomes is the GOAT.
Yeah, and if it's like 4 in the next like 3 years, let's say he wins this one, then he wins 2 more in the next like 3 or 4 years, and then he doesn't win one again, then you probably couldn't say like if he were to end his like let's say if he were to get his last Super Bowl at age like 28 or 29, then that would be tough to argue, no matter what he put up.
It would be tough because you'd have a poor taste in your mouth because Mahomes probably went at least another 5 or 6 years without winning a Super Bowl. So if it's
Maybe
tough.
even more. I mean, if
Maybe
Brady's
more.
playing at 43, Mahomes could, if he doesn't get injured, he could play at 38, 39, 40. So
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I mean it's interesting. Mahomes is the closest. It's weird to say, but Mahomes is probably he's going to be the closest anybody else is going to get. I mean, I don't see any other quarterback in the league having a chance really.
yeah,
Like even like a Trevor Lawrence, I already know he probably won't be because he's in Jacksonville, and I mean who knows about Urban Meyer, but I don't. Jacksonville organizationally, they're not a Kansas City really. I mean even before Kansas City had Mahomes, they were still a pretty respectable organization, and they were always at least decent, especially in the Alex Smith days. I mean they would go.
go to the playoffs every year.
Yeah, they'd go playoffs every year. They'd compete. I mean, we'll see, but. Yeah, I mean, Mahomes has as good a chance as anybody else has right now, for sure. If he loses the Super Bowl, though, it's going to be tougher just because even if, let's say Brady finishes with, well, Brady will have finished with 7 if he wins this and he retires. Let's just say he has 7. Mahomes would have to get to probably 7 to even have a chance at the argument. Because, I mean, maybe not 7, but it's going to be tough just because you could, any Brady homer could just say, well, Brady beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl, so.
Yeah.
So, for that, as far as that goes, I mean, Mahomes would definitely want to win this one then, because then you can always look at that Super Bowl and say, these are the 2 greatest quarterbacks of all time, and Mahomes beat Brady head-to-head in the only Super Bowl they played. So that would be a sound argument to take Mahomes over Brady, at least in my mind.
Yeah. And then I guess kind of speaking of Brady, I mean, do you think he would? I think I already know the answer to this, and I already know what my answer would be. But do you think if he were to win the Super Bowl, do you think he'd retire? And if not, when do you think he would retire?
I don't think he would retire if he wins the Super Bowl. I think he will retire. I think he retires after next year, regardless. I think he could win this, and I still think he plays next year. I think he's playing until 45. He recently said that he would consider playing past 45. I mean, I definitely think he would consider it. I don't think he would. I think 45 has been his goal for a long time, and I don't know if Giselle would really want. Giselle definitely would not want him to play past 45, and not that Giselle would make that decision by any means, but I think Brady would be perfectly fine, and I think it'd be tough to him to go back on his goal that he's had for probably at least 5 years of getting to 45. I think it'd be tough for him to, make his family go through. Not make his family go through all of this, but I mean. I'm sure Brady wants to spend time with his family and stuff like that, so I would assume he just cuts it at 45 regardless. Even if they win the Super Bowl, I don't think Brady cares about going out on top. I don't think he does. I think if he wins another one, he'll even be more, you know, hungry to try to get another one. So, I'm
Hmm.
not too sure. And Brady said, he'll play till he sucks. Um, I think he'll just cut it at 45. I'm not exactly sure how he'll look in a year from now. But he's probably not getting any better. I would assume if he drops off even a little bit, then he would probably get to around that tier where he's like average in a year. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. But we'll see. I think he cuts it off at 45 regardless, though, is my answer.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think even if he were to win, I don't think he would retire. But probably after next year. I mean, I know he signed a 2-year contract with the Bucks, so that means next year would be his last year. I just assume that he probably would. I mean, you're right; he'd be 45 years old. And yeah, I don't think he really cares about like winning a Super Bowl and then retiring or anything like that. I don't think he cares about that. All right, so the head coaches. So it's Andy Reid versus Bruce Arians. I mean, I would say we probably have more trust in Andy Reid than Bruce Arians. Obviously, he's been there, but even if he hadn't been there, I think, well, I don't know. He's been bad in the playoffs before, but obviously he won last year. So I guess I don't know if you want to do like legacy or just who do you trust more in this game. I mean, again, I kind of said it. I think we both kind of
I
trust
trust
Andy
Aaron.
Reid
I
more.
mean, sorry, I trust Reed more,
Yeah.
100%. But situationally, they can both be garbage, and like especially managing the game sometimes, especially Reed in the playoffs, like we've seen, can be horrible. Sometimes his clock. Sometimes he just forgets about everything other than calling plays and managing the offense, uh, which is bad. It's something Belichick has never really done that I think separates him from somebody like an Andy Reid. Not one Andy Reid's offense, Bill Belichick's mainly defense, but with these offensive play calling guys that are basically just coordinators but are in a head coach's position, um, sometimes they just lose track of the game and all they care about is what am I going to do next offensive drive. So when the defense is out there getting torched or really anything, sometimes the offensive guy is not worried about it, and that's not what I like to see from a head coach really. So from seeing Bill, being able to just overview and be the head guy, the head overview, like the boss of both sides without having to necessarily call the plays on either one. To me, is a huge advantage, especially in a game where in a Super Bowl where clock management is going to be huge. Just situational awareness is going to be huge as well. I'm not sure that either Arians or Reed are going to be great at that. I mean, Reed because he's so into the offense, and Arians because I don't even think I like trust Arians in general. Um, but yeah, I mean I trust Reed more. Reed's definitely the better coach. Yeah, I mean I think that at this point you could definitely argue that the Bucks team in general is more just Brady's team at
Yeah.
this point. Like Brady's not that Brady's the head coach, but he kind of is. I mean, he kind of is. He's the most important player. He's the most important, and he's the most important player, and it's not just because he's the quarterback and because he's a good quarterback, but because he's just the guy on the team. And go through any interview, all the 25-minute interviews they did for the Super Bowl and stuff like that. I mean, they're all going to talk about how Brady's the guy. He's not just the quarterback, but I mean, he's like the leader. He gets everyone hyped and all that. The defense, like they're gonna play, for Brady. They're gonna do it all, and yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, Reed's the better coach, but it's tough to look at. It's tough to compare Reed to Arians without looking at Brady for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think the Bucks. It's like even though Aaron's obviously the head coach. I mean, it's really Brady who's the leader of that team, player wise, and then kind of like as a coach wise. So it is kind of like almost like Arian slash Brady versus Reed, at least in the coaching department. But I mean, for Reed, like if he were to win this, if he were to win the Super Bowl, that means he'd have two Super Bowls. I agree with you. He's probably only going to coach for another like 6-7 years. I would just assume like he's older than a lot of coaches. I think he's in his late 60s. I want to say. I know he's in his 60s. I'm just not sure, but I'd say he probably does want to ride Mahomes out as long as he can. But I just don't think he's going to coach another like 15 years or anything like that. So he's probably going to be there for another 6-7 years. They're probably going to reach at least one or two more Super Bowls, maybe more. Who knows? but if he were to win this one, he, depending on what happens in the future until he retires, he definitely. I'm not saying he's like going to be like the greatest coach of all time. Obviously, that's Bill Belichick, but he'd be in that conversation of like the next group, where if he would have 3 or 4 Super Bowls, he'd be. It'd be tough not to, mention him when you're talking about the greatest coaches of all time.
You're talking about Reed, right? Yeah.
Yeah, if he were to win this one and then win maybe 1 or 2, maybe probably 2 more to get to 4.
Yeah, you'd probably have to win like 2 more.
But it's definitely possible, though.
It's definitely possible. It's difficult because I don't know. I just feel like it's so easy to poke holes in Reed's like coaching style. I mean, especially with like the clock management throughout the first 20 years of his head coaching career. I mean, in the 2004 Super Bowl and many playoff games, he gets outcoached time and time again. And he needed somebody like Mahomes, and I don't know if that really makes sense, but he needed somebody like a Mahomes to get him over the hump. And I mean, you could technically say the same about Brady with Belichick, or Belichick with Brady, but I don't know. I mean, we saw Reed coach with a guy like a McNabb, and he had plenty of teams that were capable of winning the Super Bowl, but it just felt like time and time again in the playoffs he just fell short. And it's good for him that he got over the hump, and he's won a Super Bowl now, so it's not really as big of a deal at this point anymore, but I mean, I definitely wouldn't rank Reed above Belichick for sure. I mean, not that you are either, but
yeah, but he'd be in the conversation of like, like Walsh and Shula possibly.
Yeah, probably.
And if he had 4 Super Bowls, I don't think you can argue that he wouldn't be in that conversation. But yeah. So I mean, I guess that's kind of it. I guess we can do the prop bets. I mean, do you want to say our official prediction for who's going to win and then the score?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess I'll let you go first on that.
All right, so I'm going with the Chiefs over the Bucks, and I think it's going to be 35-31 Chiefs.
I'll go I mean, everything tells me to bet Chiefs here.
Yeah.
But I want to go Bucks just because, I don't know, there's something about, the turnovers they've been able to create. Maybe they'll be able to do it in the Super Bowl. Brady's also just, an insanely clutch quarterback. They're also home. They're not technically home, but, they are home.
There will be more Bucks fans technically than Chiefs fans. So.
There definitely will be. It'll feel as close to a home game as you could get in the Super Bowl without it actually being a home game for sure for the Bucks. Yeah, I'll go Bucks, I guess. I mean, I'm not too confident in it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you're too confident.
I'll go Bucks. I mean, I think there are reasons to bet the Bucks. I mean, if you just look at the NFC divisional and championship games, like I've said, their defensive front is insane. Devin White is a legit linebacker. I was actually watching Colin Cowherd. He was like ranking the best players in the Super Bowl. He didn't have Devin White in the top 10. He had like Levante David above Devin White. To me, at least if you look at the divisional and the championship games, Devin White had much more of an impact on those games than Levante David. And not that Levante David's bad, but I think Devin White has played like the best player on that defense. If he plays like that in the Super Bowl, I mean, the Bucks will have a chance, especially if Barrett and JPP are able to rush the quarterback. If they can win the turnover battle, which I think they can do, it's not like out of the question that they could force a couple turnovers and the Bucks offense plays well and they play a turnover-free game. If they can get a couple short fields here and there, special teams plays at least not turning the ball over. I think the Bucks definitely could win. Brady he's not on Mahomes' level by any mean, but in the Super Bowl, it's kind of a whole different beast. I mean, anything can really happen. It's one game, but it's the Super Bowl. Brady has played well in many Super Bowls. This is his 10th. So Brady's got the experience. Brady's got the leadership. I think the Bucks want it more than the Chiefs as well, and I don't think it really necessarily means anything because it's the Super Bowl and both teams want it very badly, obviously. But just, from watching the Chiefs and seeing, like, the mic'd ups and just, the whole course of the season, there does feel like there is this, like, I don't know, they don't have that like, fire that they had the year before. and they don't have the fire that I feel like the Bucks kind of have. So I'll take the Bucks. That's my long story of me saying that I'm going to take the Bucks, and I'll take them. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring of a game. I'll take them 27-24.
All right, so I'm Chiefs over Bucks 35-31, and your Bucks over Chiefs 27-24.
Actually, you know what? No, I'll go 31-28. I'll go 31-28.
All right, so your Bucks over Chiefs 31-28.
31-27. Butker's going to miss an extra
31-27.
point. Butker's missing an extra point, 100%. 100% Butker will miss an extra point.
All right, so Butker misses an extra point, 31-27. All right, so I guess we'll end it off with some prop bets, I guess.
So, I guess we'll just start off with, like, Mahomes. Passing yards, over, under, 327.5. I mean, I'm probably going to go with the under. I think the Chiefs are going to try to run the ball a good amount, and I don't know that Mahomes gets to 327 or 328 in this case. I'll go with the under, so.
I'm going to go over because I think they will try to run the ball, but the Bucks have the number one rush defense, and I don't really see that changing in this game. So I think they're going to have to throw the ball. So yeah, I think he gets over 327.
Interceptions from Mahomes, over, under, it's half. So does he throw an interception or does he not?
I'm going to say yes, just because I think he's going to try to force something downfield, and I think it just gets picked. But I mean, it's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, I would go with yes. I mean, the yes is actually, or the over 0.5 interceptions is plus 140. The under is minus 170. So, if you think Mahomes throws an interception, that's not a bad bet there at all. Receiving yards for Tyreek Hill, over under 91.5. I mean, for me, I would go over on that. And I know, Hill's not going to have 200-something yards, and I said, you have to limit Hill, but I still think Hill will probably be able to go for like 100, honestly, 110, 120. The secondary is too young and not good enough to completely limit Hill to under. And then I guess if he went for 85 receiving yards, just not completely limiting him, but I think Hill will have his. There's no doubt about that in my mind, so I would go over 91.5.
Yeah, I would too. I think he gets over 91. I don't know. There's going to be a play where he just gets like a 40-yard catch or something like that, and then it's kind of easy to make up those 50 yards or something like that. So yeah.
Kelsey's 97.5 receiving yards. I'm going to go over on that too. I mean I think it'll be close, but I think Kelsey gets the over on that.
I mean, he's going to have Devin White on him. I would assume Devin White's going to be on him the entire game. If Devin he's been playing lights out these last 2 games, like we said, if he can cover him, I'm not saying he's going to lock him down or anything. Like, Kelsey may have like 8 catches for 85 yards. It's still a really productive game. But, man, 97, I don't know. That's a lot. And I know he probably puts up like 100 yards per game anyways, but I don't know. I think Devin White can at least limit him a little bit. So I'm going to go under.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kelsey and Hill, I mean, they can both have 100 yards receiving, if not slightly more, and still feel limited in the game. Hill more than Kelsey for sure, but I think Kelsey could have 110 yards, and it could still feel like Kelsey didn't impact the game as much as the Chiefs would like. It's going to come down to the red zone targets, as far as Kelsey's impact in the game goes. But as far as the yards are, I still think Kelsey will find a way to get over 97.5. I don't think you're going to be able to completely stop Kelsey. I was actually thinking about Kelsey and just looking at all the best tight ends of all time. And, I mean, you can make an argument that Kelsey's top 5 at this point. You could definitely make an argument.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, looking at it, for me, I think there's a very solid chance Kelsey could end up as the best tight end of all time by the end of his career. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, he's only 31 years old, so he probably has another 4 years of being 3 years of being a really productive tight end, number one, number 2.
He's got at least 2 more years of being the best / second best tight end in the league. At least 2 more.
And if he's going to keep playing with Hill, assuming Hill's still going to be a Chief, I don't know if he signed I don't know. I know he didn't sign a big extension. I don't know what he did, but assuming Hill's still going to be there, Kelsey's going to put up numbers. So for another 2-3 years, he's definitely going to be probably the best tight end to him and Kittle. But yeah, even when he's 34, 35, 36, he'll probably still put up pretty good numbers, and it'll just add to the total. So yeah.
Yeah, this is off topic, but I mean, who's your best tight end of all time? Because there's like.
I mean, that I've seen, or
I mean, if you had to pick a best tight end of all time, would it be Gonzalez? Would it be Gronk? Would it be?
I'd say
I mean, I feel like it's probably between them two for best.
yeah,
of all
I'd
time.
say the best tight end of all time is probably Gonzalez, but the most dominant tight end, it's no doubt it's Gronk. I mean, there's no for when he was playing, and him and Kelsey are actually the same age, which is pretty weird if you think about it, but there's no one more dominant than him. I mean, he's a 6'6", tight end who runs like a wide receiver and makes, catches like he does. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. I think it's difficult. Like, if you had to pick, right? If you could pick Gonzalez from a rookie to his final year of his career, or Gronk from him being a rookie to his final year of his career, like
no injuries.
No, like it plays out like we'll keep the injuries in it. Not necessarily like the same exact timing, but you'll know that Gronk is. I mean, whose career would you rather have? I guess I don't know. I would take Gonzalez. I think Gonzalez did it for longer. Definitely not nearly as dominant. There was not necessarily a bunch of years where it's like he's so dominant that he's clearly the best tight end in the league. I mean, he was probably the best for a solid amount, but yeah, I don't know. I would take Gonzalez. I think the longevity is key at the tight end position. I mean, really any position.
I mean, well, there's two things. One, Gonzalez, yeah, he's way more consistent because obviously he didn't really get injured, and he played longer and everything like that. But one thing for Gronk is that he's probably, I mean, I don't know all the tight ends of NFL history, but he's definitely one of the top run blocking tight ends, which is huge because, like you can see on this Bucs team, he's obviously not the same receiver he used to be. He's basically just another offensive lineman, and he's really good at blocking. So that does help him. I know Gonzalez really wasn't that great of a blocker. I'm not sure how good he was, but he wasn't as great as Gronk was. So that definitely helps Gronk in that case.
Yeah, I definitely think Kelsey could end up being better than Gonzalez by the time his career's over, though, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, yeah, it's dominance, 100%. I mean, Gronk's like the Shaq of like the NFL, minus, I guess Shaq probably.
Well, he kind of is like Shaq. Like, Shaq's not the greatest center of all time, but he's the most dominant center of all time.
Yeah.
So 100%. He kind of is like the same as Shaq.
Yeah. I mean, Brady passing yards, his over-under is 296. That's tough. I don't know.
For my game, I have it 35-31, so I'm expecting points, and I'm going to assume that most of them are going to come through the air, obviously like yards moving down the field. So I know 296, I don't know. I think he gets over 296. I think it probably comes at the end where they kind of need points and need them fast. So I think he's going to, they're probably going to go on like a 75-yard drive at the end of the game. So, yeah, I think he gets over 296.
I'm going to go under. I think it'll be close, but I'll bet the under. I think if the Bucs go for 120 on the ground, I don't think Brady will also have at least 296, at least 297. So I'll bet the under on that. Pass attempts over under is 39.5. I'd probably go under on that too. Even if it's I have it 31-27. So even at that score though, I would still go the under. I don't think Brady's gonna end up passing 30-40 times. I think it'll be like 35.
I think it depends on, like, we both have them as close games. It depends on, like, if they're down, like, 2 scores and then they get the touchdown at the end, you know what I mean? Or if it's, like, just back and forth the entire game. I think if it's back and forth, he'll probably be under that. But if they, like, need points at the end, he's probably going to have another, like, 7 to 10 pass attempts, so he may get over. It just depends on how the game actually ends. Yeah. So I can't really answer that, I guess.
Brady's rushing yards is over under half a yard.
Well, I think if they're winning, the Neils the Neils are going to take it down. So I guess if you think they're going to win, then you'll probably go under. If you think they're going to lose, I mean, there's no way he doesn't have the QB sneak. You know what I mean?
Because Brady, the over is plus 140, the under is minus 170. Although the Bucs are underdogs in this game, so you'd expect that people would take the under. Well, you'd expect people would take the over. But the under is the favorite by a little bit. Which is weird.
I take the over because he's definitely going to have a QB sneak. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So that's 1 yard. So that's already over right there.
Yeah, it would be tough to bet the under because you'd basically you have to bet on the fact that he doesn't have a QB. He doesn't QB sneak more than a couple times. You'd have to, at most, 2 QB sneaks, basically. And he'd have to kneel the ball a couple times. So it'd be tough to bet the under. I mean, but I don't know. I guess I'd go over. I think there'd be at least one play where maybe Brady is able to scramble for a couple yards. and that would be the difference. But I wouldn't really touch it. But if I was, I'd go the over. Um,
Do we want to do like a fun prop bet? Like
yeah,
not
sure.
game.
I mean, I don't necessarily have them in front of me, but
I got one in my head. It's what color the Gatorade do you think is gonna be?
I know orange is the favorite, right? I
Yeah,
believe.
I mean it depends on who you think's gonna win. So you have the Bucks winning. So what do you think the Bucks color is gonna be? I have the Chiefs.
I mean, you'd have to like.
And for last year, the Chiefs last year was orange.
I feel like I don't know. I mean, you could definitely go red, but I
Yeah.
mean, both teams are red. So, but I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I just yawned, but I don't know. I mean, it's such a. I just feel like it's so random. Do they even drink the Gatorade on the sidelines?
I mean, I guess I don't know.
Like, I don't even know if they actually drink the Gatorade on the sidelines, but I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd have to look at what the lines are, but I'd go with whatever is like least likely, to be honest. Unless it's purple. I wouldn't bet like purple Gatorade or anything like that, or like the white Gatorade. But out of orange, red, and blue, whatever's least likely out of those three, I would bet on that one.
Yeah.
Just for the odds. I wouldn't bet orange. Like, what's the point? What's the point in even betting on orange? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm gonna. I don't know what the lines are. Like, I don't even know. I just know like the bet and everything like that. I have the Chiefs. I'd probably go red. I don't know. I don't think you repeat colors. I don't think you go orange twice in a row. I don't think they're going to go with a weird color like purple or white or anything like that. So I'd say they probably go with red.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They're also wearing the red jerseys.
So orange, it says, is plus 160, red plus 165, lime/green/yellow is plus 330, clear/water is plus 650. Did they even dump clear? When was the last time they did water? Like water. Blue is plus 800, purple is plus 1300. I could see blue. I could 100% see blue. And I know it doesn't like match any of the colors.
I mean, like the Niners last year at purple. They did have purple in their Gatorade.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, how do you know that? Did they?
Well, that was
the
something.
report?
That was the big thing last year was that purple was the color, like, but no one
I
knew
think I
which
remember
side purple was on, and then the Chiefs had orange, the purple was on the Niners. That was the big thing last year.
Yeah, I don't know. Orange is tough. I mean, orange and red are both tough because they're both plus 160, and I'd rather go with like the yellow or the blue or the purple.
Yeah, the yellow's not a bad one. I think I think the yellow would be the Bucks and the red would be the Chiefs. But I have the Chiefs winning, so I'd say red.
All right, I'll go blue. It's plus 800, so it's like I don't know. I'd rather take my chances with the plus 800 than go with red at plus 165.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I feel like I don't know. It's pretty random. I mean, it is
It is
completely random.
It's just funny though.
Yeah. Let me pull up the other prop bets. I mean, there's some like, what team will score last in the game? I mean, I would go. I mean, it depends on who you have winning, probably. I mean, it's
I mean, you could have the Bucks
Yeah.
late touchdown or something.
Chiefs are minus 120 to score last. Bucks are plus 100 to score last, and I'd go with something with that. I would just go with whatever's like the better. Like I'd go with the plus 100. I'd just go with Tampa because I'll just take the extra. You'd win more. So I would go with Tampa there, even if they lose the game. I just feel like it's kind of a 50-50 on who's going to score last. Like you said, I mean, you could lose the game and still score last.
Yeah.
Will the last play of the game be a quarterback rush? Yes is minus 145. No is plus 125. I don't know.
I mean, again, that just depends on who's the ball.
Yeah. Well, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I have no clue. I guess I'd go with. I'm gonna go with yes because I'm gonna say the Bucks score at the end. They onside kick, Chiefs get it, and then kneel. So I say yes.
Who's your Super Bowl MVP? I mean, it's tough to not go with a quarterback.
Yeah, it's tough not to go with the quarterback. I mean, do you want to do non-quarterback?
Sure. I would, if I was like going to bet on it with like money, so like the odds matter. Like I'm not gonna go with Mahomes because he's minus 120. Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah. I mean, it's almost always going to be a quarterback. I know the last Patriots one was Gilmore, but that
Edelman.
game was only like 13-3 or whatever that score
Yeah.
was. So I mean, obviously, we're both assuming that both teams are going to score, which I'd be surprised if they wouldn't. So it's most likely going to be one of the quarterbacks. But if it wasn't a quarterback, again, I have the Chiefs winning. So I'd go with,
Probably Kelsey or Hill, right? I mean, I don't know.
well, yeah, probably because again, I've been putting up 35 points, so I'd assume that Kelsey or Hill would go off. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Tyrann Mathieu. I don't know. Maybe he gets like
I
two
think I
sacks,
mean
a
if the
pick.
Bucks win,
Maybe
it's
maybe he makes a big play defensively. I
yeah.
don't know.
I would go with Devin White. I think if Devin White
Yeah,
comes
Devin
up with
White
a pick,
definitely. Yeah.
he comes with a pick, maybe a sack, a forced fumble, or a fumble recovery, scoop and score. He's been around those.
That
Past
just
couple
would
games.
mean that Brady would have to not have a good game though. Because if Brady has somewhat of a good game and
Well,
they win, he's getting it no matter what. Why would they not give it to him?
no,
If
you're
he's
right.
like somewhat, he has to have like a bad game in order for him not to get it.
Well, I don't know about a bad game. It would just be. I mean, Devin White would have to have a significantly better game than Brady.
Unless Devin White literally has like one of the
Like
greatest
Brady could
games.
still go like 250, 2 touchdowns, no picks,
But he
and
get
not
it
win it.
then. It depends.
250 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I don't know. I don't think you'd have to. Like if White had.
Unless White had like 3 sacks, a pick, a forced fumble, like something, you'd have to have like a crazy stat line.
I'll go with White. I think if you're gonna bet on somebody, it'd be White. I don't even.
Yeah,
So
for
it
the
says-
Bucks, yeah,
it
I
says
definitely
all
go with
others
White.
is plus 2,500.
I'd go with White or like Barrett or Peter Paul. I'd go with one of those
you could
three.
go with Barrett. I think Barrett and JPP are not bad. I mean, yeah, if
If you're
Barrett
not
has.
gonna go with Brady, it's not gonna be anyone else on offense. So it's gonna be someone on defense, and those, I mean, it's probably gonna be one of those three players.
I don't know. Maybe Chris Godwin has like a
Yeah,
14 reception.
I mean maybe, but I don't
I don't
know.
know. We've seen when Brady wins the Super Bowl, it's either him or wide receiver. So betting on the defense is difficult. But
Yeah, like didn't Deion Branch win one?
Deion Branch won the 2004 MVP. Edelman was the one that won the 2018 one, by the way.
Oh, is that Edelman?
Yeah, it was Edelman.
Oh, I don't know why I thought it was Gilmore.
I don't know either. I mean, he had the interception.
I know,
though, like,
yeah, he had the
basically seal
interception.
Game, but I mean, Edelman had an insane. I mean, it was like what 12 catches, 140 yards or something in that game. I mean, Edelman was the only source of offense they had that whole game. Because they only scored 13 points. So yeah, I mean, Edelman won that MVP, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, it would probably be one of the quarterbacks, but
Yeah,
I'm not gonna bet on one of the. I'll go Devin White. That's.
and I'd go Teron Matthew.
Maybe I don't know. Murphy Bunting has had an insane playoffs, but it's tough. I feel like it's so tough for a cornerback, especially if you're
You
not
need like
number
2
one.
picks or something.
He'd need like a pick six.
Yeah.
Another pick. Like you need to he would need to for somehow completely shut down whoever he's guard. He wouldn't even be able to get an MVP because he's not guarding. He wouldn't be on Hill the whole game. It'd be tough.
Oh, you know what I was thinking? I mean, Edelman, he had 10 catches, 141 yards, no touchdowns, but everyone was saying that he should have given it to Gilmore because Gilmore really was the MVP. So they only scored 3 points. I mean, Gilmore was clearly one of the big reasons. But I need a pick to end the game, basically. So that's why. I think that's why I was
I would have
thinking
given
about.
it to Edelman just because the only reason they were able to score was basically because of Edelman. The only reason they were able to even sustain any drive, never mind even score, was because of Edelman. They had nothing. They had nothing until that one play to Gronk that was the 30-yard pass on the left side of the field.
Yeah.
That was their one actual throw. Everything else was Edelman, and then, I mean, really. So. But,
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I guess one more time. I have Chiefs over Bucks 35-31. Drew has Bucks over Chiefs 31-27.
I do kind of feel stupid, because I just spent so much time talking about how the Chiefs are better in most aspects, and then I bet the Bucks. But I mean, again, it's so tough to discount what the Bucks defensive front, especially Barrett and JPP, have done in the playoffs. I mean, we saw it with the 2011 Giants. I mean, if JPP gets hot, I mean, if people get hot, I mean, it's tough to it's tough to like see that, I guess. But I don't know. I'll go with Bucks. I'll go with Bucks 31-27. I think it'll be regardless. I think it'll be a very good game. I mean, it's tough for this game to not be good.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a good game. This won't be like a boring Super Bowl like the Rams Patriots or Broncos Panthers. It won't be like that. Definitely be an exciting game. But yeah, I guess that's it. So we'll see what happens on the Super Bowl this Sunday. We'll be back probably I think Tuesday, maybe Monday. I think we're gonna record this on Monday, but then probably release it on Tuesday. So that would be our thoughts about the game.
Oh well, also, but we're gonna be on like the radio or whatever.
Yeah, and then we're gonna be on the radio again. So that's happening. So yeah, next Tuesday. So each Tuesday from now on, we're on the radio, 12 to 2, Quinnipiac radio. That's 98.1 FM, WQAQ. So you can tune into that also. Also, you can go to our YouTube, Spotify, also whole 9 yards on both of those. And yeah, so we'll be back on Tuesday on the radio and also on YouTube and Spotify.